Welcome, business and technology students. My name is Miss Tracy, and I'm going to show you some computer technology today. We're going to be using Google Docs. This is a free-based software that you can use through Google. All that is required is that you have a Gmail account in order to use Google Docs. It is free. There's no charge. So if you prefer to use Microsoft Word or Apple Pages, you can do so. It's entirely up to you. What's important is that you know how to manipulate your software to get the same result or something very similar. So I'm going to use Google Docs because I think it is the most accessible to everybody. And if you don't have Microsoft Word or Pages, all you have is a Chromebook, this is what you're going to be using anyway. So I'm going to click the little Google Apps grid, and I'm going to scroll down until I see Google Docs. And then I'm going to click blank. Now to create our inventory worksheet, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Untitled Document and save it as, or title it as, Inventory Worksheet. Now if you are in Pages or Word, you can, if you're in Pages, the title is in the center, and you can do much the same thing that you did here. You click it, it opens a window, you change the name. In Microsoft Word, I believe that happens when you click File, Save, and it lets you put in a title then. So let's begin creating by giving it a title on the page. We'll just use the same name, Inventory Worksheet. And I want this to be centered to the top of my page. So I'm going to click at the end here with my mouse and drag all the way to the capital I, and then I'm going to click the Center Align button. This is your alignment options. You have left align, center align, right align, and justify. I want it centered, so I'm going to click Center Align. And I want it to be larger than this. So I am going to look over here. You're going to see decrease font size, and increase font size. Now you can click plus until it gets the size you want it, or you can click right in the font size field and it gives you some default settings. I'm going to choose 14. Actually, I think let's choose 24. I like that size. That looks good. Now when I press return or enter, it's going to keep that font size. I don't want the rest of my page to be as big as my header, so I'm going to change this to 12. I want it half the size of that because I want smaller lines, right? And I also want the rest of the page to be left aligned. So I'm going to go back to my left align and change that. Now it's going to type the rest of the page as left aligned, and that's important. I'm going to press return one more time just to give myself a space between the worksheet and the header. And I am going to insert a table because a table is, for a worksheet, it's really satisfactory in creating corresponding lines. So I know that I've written the right count for the right item on the right line. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to hover over Table, and then I'm going to scroll to the right over here with my mouse. And I'm going to need 5 columns. I believe that's right. Yes. And let's do 18 rows. So this should be 5 by 18. All right. So now I'm going to put in my headers. And I've got my first column, in the very first square, the squares that we have, these boxes, those are called cells. So that first cell, I'm going to type the word date. I'm going to press the tab key on my keyboard, and I'm going to type item. I'm going to press the tab key again. It's going to go to the next cell, and I'm going to type count. Press the tab key again, and I'm going to type price. Press the tab key again, and I'm going to type subtotal. Uh-oh, I didn't put enough columns. So what can you do if you don't put enough columns, or if you put too many? So you can right click in the cell that you need, where you need to make an adjustment. and I need to have another column to the right of this table. So I'm going to scroll down until insert column right is highlighted, and then I'm going to click that, and that adds a column to the right of that. If I had added too many, I would just choose delete column and it would take it out. So here I'm going to type balance. All right, now that is all that I need, all the columns I need for this worksheet. However, they're sized all the same, and I need to have more room to write the item. I don't need this much room for dates. What you're going to do is you're going to hover right over the column line that you want to adjust, and you're going to get this line with the two left and right arrows. And if you click, it'll turn blue, and then you can drag it whichever way you want it to go. So I want it to go to the left to make it smaller. So right about there. It just occurred to me that this might be a little small, so I'm going to go over here to where it says zoom, and I'm going to make this 200% just so you can see this better. You don't have to do this on your screen, but you can do that to make it to where it's more visible. So now you can see this a little bit better. So I'm going to look at this side now. Balance doesn't need to be this big. I just want it to fit the word balance. So I'm going to kind of estimate, yeah, that works right there. Subtotal, same thing. I just need it to show the word subtotal. Price can be way smaller. And don't worry, if you go too far and it does that, you can just drag it back until it's just big enough for that word. Like I think subtotal could go a little bit more. Nope. Let me scooch back just a little bit. There you go. Just to where it fits the word. That's all you need. Count. Let's see, about right here. That's about right. So now I have plenty of room to write my item. So your inventory worksheet columns should look something like this. Date, kind of small. Item, a nice big space to write. Count, price, subtotal, balance. And you should have about 18 lines. That's for 17 items is what we have here. So what I am going to do, I have plenty of room at the bottom. I'm not sure exactly how many items I'm going to have. I'm going to add some more lines because I really only need about this much space at the bottom. So that looks to me about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more lines. So I'm going to click in the bottom row and I am going to hold it and drag upward until I highlight 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to right click. Oops, it didn't do it. Highlight, and I think I can click insert. Table. No. Format table. Yes, format table. Insert row below. There you go. Whatever you have highlighted, it is going to allow you to insert. Now, if you highlight this and immediately click, it will tell you insert rows, 6 rows below, right? So what I did wrong was I highlighted, let go of my mouse, and then clicked and did something funky. So it will allow you, if you highlight and then right click, to insert the number that you have highlighted. Or you can just simply sit here and click insert row below 6 times. Either way works. If you have too many rows in there, you can click delete row. You can also highlight the number of rows you want to delete, right click, and it'll ask you want to delete these 2 rows. Yes. So that's how you would insert and delete rows. So now that I have about the number of rows I think I need, it looks pretty full. I'm going to insert 1 more row below. There we go. I think that's about right. I'm going to go right to the bottom and I'm going to start typing. And this is going to be my calculation to remind me how to do the inventory on the day of. So here's my calculation. I'm going to type beginning inventory, and I'm going to press the tab key, and then I'm going to click minus, the minus key, the tab key again, ending inventory. Actually, not inventory. Sorry, let me take all that out. Beginning balance. minus tab, ending balance, tab equals tab, and this is going to be sales. So you take your beginning balance, your dollar amount that you started with, and your ending balance, the dollar amount that you ended with in your inventory, and that should be your sales amount. So under here, I'm going to press return, and now I'm going to give myself some blanks to do that. So I'm going to press Command U, or you can click this little button right up here. All right, let me increase the size of my screen. I'm going to press Command plus, and it's going to enlarge everything on my screen. And let me bring this back down so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. All right, so Command plus allows you to make the toolbar bigger. It makes everything bigger, really. So now you can see this a little bit better. You can either click here, or you can press Command U on your keyboard. It does the same thing. You see that it goes away and comes back? It's because I'm pressing Command U on my keyboard. Okay, I have underline. So when you have underline activated, you can press the tab button and it makes an underline. It makes a blank for you. So I'm going to do that a couple of times, and then I'm going to take it off. And then I'm going to tab over and I'm going to type minus. And you know what? This one does not look like it's aligned. So let me hit tab. There we go. And I'm going to take this back one. There we go. I must not have hit tab correctly. If I had, it would all be lined up. So now that I'm here, I'm going to press tab again, and I'm going to turn my underline back on by pressing Command U on my keyboard. And then I'm going to hit tab, tab, and then I'm going to take it off. This time I'm just going to click my toolbar, and I'm going to press tab. Tab just is a default 5 spaces that your cursor, this little blinking thing right here that tells you where you are, that's your cursor, it moves at 5 spaces. So it's automatically aligned. If you look up here at your ruler, 5 spaces, 5 spaces. It's roughly 5 spaces here, 5 spaces here. It's not exactly lined up with your ruler, but it's close. Now I'm going to press equal. I'm going to press tab again, and I'm going to turn on my underline again. I'm going to use this on here so you can see me do it. And then I'm going to press tab, tab. So now I have a place to write my beginning balance, my dollar amount of my inventory before I sell anything, my ending balance, which is the balance of the inventory that I still have, right? This is what didn't get sold. And then that should equal the amount that I sold. This should give me the dollar amount that should be in the cash box at the end of the day. So that is how we calculate and balance what we brought in versus what we have in stock. That's a very important technique that we need to be able to do to make sure that we don't have errors in our calculations. So what should happen when we do this is, if every sale was done correctly, meaning we charged the right price, then what should happen is that the amount of money in the sales box, the cash box, should equal the amount that we calculate here on our inventory worksheet. Now what that means is we have to take the amount of cash that we started with out. We're going to start with $100 of change. You have to be able to make change. You can't just start taking money without being able to make change. So we're going to start with $100 in 5s and 1s and 10s and quarters, because we don't do sales tax. So we just round everything to 50 cents or a quarter for our pricing. It just makes it easy for the person who is trying to run the cash box to do the math on the fly. Although this year we are going to be using a computer system that will help us. So what happens is we take that's called seed money or change money. So you deduct the change money from what's in the cash box, and then you count out the rest. And then the rest is going to be cash. It's going to be paid on account. Like whenever somebody says, "Can I pay you back next week?" you write that down on account, and you include that in your sales dollars because you did sell it. You just didn't get the money for it. So it's like an IOU. You have to include that. That's like a credit account. And then you have to include anything that was paid via Venmo or Cash App or PayPal. That has to be written down and recorded whenever that sale is made. So if Miss Christie comes through and she says, "Hey, I Cash Apped Miss Laura $5. I'm going to get this, this, and this, and it equals $5. You would have to put that in the system or write it down. Miss Christie, PayPal $5 or Cash App $5, whatever it is. All right. We're going to call that virtual money is or some other name to represent that in the computer system. So we would add all those three things together, and that should equal the sales dollar from our inventory worksheet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press return, and I'm going to press tab. Oops. I still have it on underline. We don't want that. So I'm going to press backspace or delete on your Mac. And I'm going to take underline off. And then I'm going to press tab, 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 tab. And when I get underneath ending balance, I'm going to write new BEG period, BAL period. That will be our beginning balance for next week. All right, that will be the new thing that we have. And for our first week, we shouldn't have anything to add to that, but the next week we will. And so we're going to go ahead and make one inventory worksheet so we don't have to redo this. And all we're going to have to do is hit return to go to a new line. And we're going to do another return. Let's see. We're going to do new inventory. Actually, let's call that inventory. Let's call that restock. So restock, and then I'm going to put a line here. So Command U, and let's press tab a couple of times. And that's going to be anything that we purchase to add to the inventory. Okay, so restock, take the underline off, tab. Actually, don't tab. Let's just space a couple places because we're going to run out of room. And then let's press plus, and then space a couple spaces, and then let's put in beginning balance, not that, BEG, beginning period balance, and that's going to be the ending balance of our previous inventory. So turn on your underline, and I'm going to press tab, 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 and then take underline off, and then equals, space and equal, and then another space, and then this is going to be our beginning balance. Okay. And you can just type it out. That might be a little bit confusing. So what we did, let's call this, instead of beginning balance, let's call this restock balance. Because that's what it is. It's a restocked balance. We had our new beginning balance, which is right here. So this would be our, let's put an N right here so we can keep it straight. N beginning balance. That's the amount that we have left in inventory from the previous week. That's our new beginning balance. If we buy anything to restock it, we have to add that to the new beginning balance, and then that becomes our restock balance. Let's do our restocked balance, and that is where this is the number that we put back in here the next week. Okay, so the previous week we would pull this sheet back up, we would add anything new we've added to it, which we'd pull this ending balance here, and then that would be our restock balance, which would turn into our beginning balance for the next week. So I'm going to space, and I'm going to turn on the underline, and I'm going to tab, 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 and now we have our restocked balance. All right, and that will be something that occurs in between inventory count and sales for the next week. So this has to happen between sales events. We have to restock. So that's why we would include that on a previous inventory sheet as opposed to a new inventory sheet. Okay? All right, so that is what, let me scale this back down. That is what it should look like. Let's go to 100%. So you should have inventory worksheet, title, 6 columns, date, item, count, price, subtotal, balance, looking like this. Filling the page down here to the bottom where we have our beginning balance, which is the inventory we started with, minus our ending balance, which is what we have left after we counted our inventory. That should equal our sales, right? That's how much we sold. And this should match up to what we have in our cash box at the end of the day. Restock is if we purchase anything in between this Thursday and next Thursday to add to our inventory. We add that to our new beginning balance. That gives us our restocked balance. And that restocked balance is everything that we have to sell the next Thursday. Now, sometimes we are not going to restock. And if we don't restock, then we just put a 0 here. We bring down our new beginning balance, and then we change that to the restock balance. And we just basically transfer the number over because anything plus 0 is itself, right? So you see how that process, if we get in the habit of doing that, it gives us that thought process to keep checking, did we add anything? No. Okay, then our inventory is current. And that is going to be our basic process on Thursdays. We're going to check our inventory versus our sales and make sure we stay up to date on inventory. Once we get in the habit of doing that, it shouldn't take us very long. So now once you've created your inventory worksheet, we are going to save this. Now in Google Docs, it's always saving it, always saving it. So it's going to be here. The way that you are going to turn this in, we are not going to share this. This is a no-no. If you click this, it's going to give you a link. We're not doing that because it doesn't work. Because typically people don't fix this, right? They don't do it right. And I'm not going to explain that to you because in business, typically, you don't deal with that. You need to send somebody something that they don't have to receive a whole lot of instruction on. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to download the file and upload it to Jupyter. So what you're going to do is simply click the print button or press Command P on your keyboard, or you're going to say print from file print. Either way, doesn't matter. Now, if you are in Pages or you are in Microsoft Word, you should have an option to say File Export as a PDF or File Save as a PDF. If you do not have those two options, then what you can do, you can say File Print, and this is Pages. And if you look at the bottom here, you have a little PDF button. This is where I said File Print. You can click PDF, and it gives you the option to save it as a PDF. And then you would tell it where you want to save it to, whether it's your documents folder or something like that. You can put it in your downloads folder, it doesn't matter. But when you click save as PDF, it's going to give you a little window that says, where do you want to save this and what do you want to call it? So I've already called it inventory worksheet, and it's going to be saved to my documents folder. Okay, so if that is the one I want to use, then that is what I would do. I don't want to use that one. I've already saved it from Google Docs. So I'm going to cancel all of this, and I'm going to go back to my Google Docs. Now it's already saved it for me. So now what I'm going to do is go to Jupyter and show you how to put it into the assignment. So here I am in Jupyter, and I have a test student. So this is nobody's, stuff. I'm clicking the business and technology, and here's the inventory worksheet assignment. This is the one you're on today. Now, when you open it, you're going to see a link here that is this video. But obviously, since I'm currently making the video, I can't link it yet. I have to wait till it's completed. So you'll watch the video first, and which you should have already done because you're watching the video now. And then once you're done, you're going to click Turn In. You're going to click this computer because you should save it as a PDF to your computer. And then you are going to select the inventory worksheet, whatever name you saved it under. You don't have to call it inventory worksheet. You can call it whatever you want to, but something that tells you what it is usually best. Right, so I accidentally saved it twice, so it made 2 copies. So I'm just going to select inventory worksheet, and then I'm going to click upload, and then it automatically checks it as done. And here's my inventory worksheet. And then what I will do as your teacher, I will check the inventory worksheet for all the elements that we went over to make sure it's complete. And if you have all the elements, then you'll get full points. Your business and technology class has 2 components. One is learning about business and how to run a small business, and one is how to use computers to work with that, and how computers can help you, and how they are integrated one with the other. Because these days, it's unless you are, let's say, a farmer or a mechanic or something, a baker or something that just deals with hands-on only, and you keep all of your books on paper, all of your stuff, your accounting and your bookkeeping, everything is done on paper. You're going to need to know how to use a computer. If you do any of your bookkeeping on a computer, you're going to want to know how to use some type of spreadsheet software or some type of QuickBooks. You're going to want to know how to use Word so that you can, or a word processing program so that you can create forms for your business, so that you can create letters to customers, etc., and so on. You're going to want to know how to use a little bit of graphic design so that you can create ads or create your logo or your brand. Now, if you're a big enough business or you have enough capital, which is the word we use for money, then you'll be able to hire somebody to do some of that for you. But right at first, if you're a small business owner and you are a sole proprietor, you're probably going to use the funds that you have already. It's your money. So you're not going to want to spend money on stuff you don't have to, because you want to keep expenses low right at the beginning because you haven't sold anything yet. So knowing how to do some of this stuff yourself on the front end is going to help you save some money and keep your expenses low. And that's going to be important for your success. The smaller your expenses, the greater your profit margin. So that's something that you need to think about if you ever intend on having a small business or charging for your services or anything like that. Keep your expenses low and your profit margin is higher. That's just a default. It's simple mathematics, addition and subtraction. All right, that's all we have for this lesson. Do your inventory worksheet in the software that you prefer or that you have access to, and save it as a PDF. Make sure it has all the elements that it's supposed to have. Upload it to this assignment, and then print out a copy to bring to class on Thursday, because you will be using your inventory worksheet to do all the calculations. If you do not have a printer and you cannot print this, then please message me and I will print your inventory worksheet for you so you have it for class. All right, that is all we have. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day.